Alrighty, hey traders, John Howell here. So today what I want to talk to you about is the phase that most traders go through that I didn't know I had to go through to start to get on the other side of starting to get some sort of success out of the trading the markets there. So the the one thing that for me personally, like I've been trading the markets now for 20 years, okay? And so the thing for me personally is that when I was getting involved with the actual markets itself, the trading of the markets and so on and so forth, and then learning, my background was landscape gardening. So my father owned a landscape gardening business. So it was all about, lawns and gardens and retaining walls, sprinkler systems, different grasses, mulch, you name it, right? Landscape gardening. So that's what I grew up with for majority of my childhood. That I was that I grew up from, right? So it was all about laboring. And by the way, when I finished school, I only did year 10. So my only qualifications was doing laboring. So that they were the type of jobs that I went down with, and I started to approach that level there. So when I started learning about this thing called trading, right, I had no idea about anything. Right, I had no idea about anything. And one thing that I didn't know that I had to go down with, and it was going to take many years of doing this, was the discovery phase. And the discovery phase is you're discovering everything. You're discovering different types of methods, right? Different types of trading systems. I'll be buying many different courses. I'll be seeking different trainings out. Now, back in those days, YouTube wasn't as big as it is right now. So it wasn't really YouTube. It was more like seminars. It was DVDs. If you guys remember back then, right? I'd be buying like big DVD courses and so on and so forth. And so, and thank God that I got access to, or I went to some seminars and I started getting access to, I went to a lot of these trading seminars where they had there was like, what, many speakers per day, right? So many speakers per day. And then, and then, yeah, and then I'll be able to get introduced to like, funds trading and so on and so forth and stuff like that. So the whole thing about, the whole thing about that is I started going down through this discovery phase, right? So the discovery phase was, what is this thing called trading? And then you learn different systems, right? You have intraday trading systems, you have swing trading systems, and then you learn these indicators by like stochastics and what is a stochastic and a MACD and the RSI, and then you learn divergences and then you learn like trend lines and Fibonacci levels and support resistance and the candles and what does a candle mean and then trend analysis, and you're discovering, right? You're going through a discovery phase. So if you've been part of the markets less than 5 years, I would say you're going through a discovery phase right now. Unfortunately, most traders get stuck here, right? And unfortunately, most traders don't. Most traders they don't realize that they have to get through this discovery phase to then on the other side for things to start to click for them. Because through this phase, guess what? You're probably trying a lot of things, right? You're testing this out, you're testing that out. You're probably blowing up a few trading accounts or you're losing a bit of money. Now, this is for trading purposes, right? Because there's different skills in the markets. And I find the more you can laser down on one thing, the better it can be, right? So there's a skill of investing. So how do you invest long term in the markets, right? What sort of companies do you buy? What's your sort of horizon? How do you look at the cash flow balance sheets and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's a skill in itself. One of the big mistakes that I see a lot of traders do is they do too much of that, right? They listen to a guy about fundamentals, right? So they listen to a guy about fundamentals and then, it'll be like trying to incorporate that into trading, as an example. where both of them are not, both of them are actually different there, right? So both of them are different there. And the thing is that you can't mix them up. You know what I mean? So the thing for me is going down the whole path of, going and learning the technical analysis side of things. And the technical analysis side of things, or the actual art of trading, right? And you're learning different systems and different things that's happening in the market and all that sort of stuff. And so then after that, then everything starts to click for you, right? Everything starts to click for you, and then things start to actually, you start to see things clicking for you. So the whole phase of what happened through there is, what typically happens is you go through this phase, and then after a while you're like, I really like that style of trading, or I really see that clicks for me. You know what I mean? This type of trading pattern, or this type of thing here, this is the thing that really clicks for me. Make sense? And so what I started to do, and what I was, seeing and understanding in the markets and so on and so forth, was I started to see the path of, I started to get more comfortable with a style of trading and so on and so forth, right? And so the whole wraparound of what I'm trying to say there is, you're going to go through the discovery phase, right? Especially if you're learning to trade the markets. Trading the markets is an activity, right? You're not buying, holding for 5 years. It's an activity, right? Even if you're swing trading, like me, I like to swing trade, where I like to be in something. For my ideal trading is, I want to get into something and hold it for a month or two, have a really big profit, right? And then have a small risk on that. Make sense? So that was the thing for me that really started to kick things in the gear for me to having success in the markets, right? I tried to do the intraday trading, and it was hard. It's many hours, you're stressing a lot, you know what I mean? You're doing all that sort of stuff. And so the thing for me was, that was always hard for me. I didn't have a life and so on and so forth. And so fast forward, looking at, say 20 years later, this is where I am right now with my own personal trading, right? So if you're going down the path right now, and I would say again, if you're learning the art of trading the markets, and trading the markets is a skill in itself, right? What is the truth about trading the markets? And how do I really get ahead in trading the markets? And once we start to go down this path of that, then you start to get better at that thing called trading, right? And I find that a lot of traders, see, the thing for me is like, okay, I started to realize, okay, there's a certain way of thinking. So there's a right thinking I should be doing. There should be type of strategies that I should be really focusing on if I want to get a certain result out of it. And a lot of the times my thinking was wrong. And that was the thing that was stopping me. So for example, I would intraday trade, meaning I would day trade, because I thought if I had a lot of trades throughout the year, that's going to equal more income. Well, you know yourself, right? That thinking stopped me from actually making really big profits throughout the year. Why? 2 reasons. One, that's not the case, because if you're very active all the time in the markets, guess what ends up happening? You end up losing a lot of money, right? Because you're emotionally getting in, you're doubling your risk on some trades, you're backing off, and it's just, secondly, you're not actually having a life there. But what is also happening from there? You're having smaller profits, aren't you? And you're very active throughout the day. Active, right? Throughout there. That's hard. That's hard jagger. I've never met anyone to make really serious money by doing that every day. Now, I do know there are people that trade the intraday charts, but they don't trade a lot. So for example, the one thing that I really that took me a long time to learn when it comes down to trading the markets is how the seasons really work in the year. How does a successful trader really look at his year? And what's the truth about this thing, right? See, my misbelief or my non-truths that I thought, which was actually false, which was actually stopping me, was, I'm going to be trading every week. There's going to be trades every week. And if I can look at 1 minute charts or 2 minute charts, I can have a lot of trades and I can make a lot of money. That stopped me. Why? Because every day I was looking for trades. And you know yourself, right? And you know yourself, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about here. When it comes down to, when it comes down to your trading, is that form of trading is hard. And I've never made big profits by doing that. It's always small profits. And it's much more harder, right? So because my thoughts and my actual wrong thinking was going down the path of, and again, this is one of many things, right? When it comes to trading the markets. My wrong thinking caused me to actually force trades that weren't there. And it just became a part of, man, it was hard, right? It was hard. Once I started to understand through mentors and coaches, especially with one of my main mentors, multi 7-figure trader per year profit. Once I started understanding of how he made his profits. So when I say multiple 7 figures per year, right? So if you think about, he might make 200 grand in a month, but that 200 grand would only come from maybe 4 or 5 trading days throughout the entire month. And the rest were non-trading days. And I started to understand that. I started to understand of why he was so successful and why I wasn't so successful, right? And now, once I said to myself, now what do I have to actually do if I want to have a really good successful year this year? If I want to have a good successful year this year, what do I have to do? Like, really, right? Let's get to the truth of this thing. Because if I'm not really facing the truth, then I'm not going to get ahead. And this is one thing that I learned. Now I apply that to my trading now, where I don't day trade, but I also understand that there might be a month with no trades at all, and that's okay. That's actually normal for that to happen every now and then. Because then guess what? Then the next month there might be 1 or 2 really good trades, and in my case, that you jump in, and because I'm looking to get into something and ride a big move, I could have a really big profit that could do really well for me. So these are the things that I had to start to switch, right? These are the things I really had to start to learn the art. Now, it wasn't until there was a lot of things where it was about what's the truth about trading? How do I really look at trading? What are some of the things that I'm thinking right now that are actually not true? And I had to start digging deep. And this is always the hardest thing about trading, because most people, they don't want to look at themselves and say, what am I doing wrong here? A lot of traders, they want to point the finger and so on and so forth. And so the thing for me was going down the path of just really going through the discovery phase. Losing a lot of money and a lot of sleepless nights, and man, it was tough. But I'm so grateful that I actually stuck at that process. I'm so grateful that I actually stuck through the process of that discovery phase of just learning about all this sort of stuff. And then you realize a lot of this stuff out there is actually not going to really help me. Now, the only way I really started to get these distinctions was I invested in really good coaching. You know, I started investing $10,000 per year in my 7-figure coach. If you guys are interested in getting coaching by me, and you guys joining what was called my 1% club, where my whole thing about is, over the next 6 to 12 months, I teach you what's taken me 20 years to figure out. Then that second link in the description, you can go apply for that, and I'll personally call you at that time, and we'll have a good chat. We'll see if you're a good fit, and we can sort of go from there, see if I can help you out from there. But it wasn't until I actually started getting some mentoring, not just education. I had so many different courses and programs and educational programs, but it's like, okay, right, I need to invest good money. Not just $1,000 here or $2,000 there or $500 here. No, I need to go invest good money, right? I need to go invest good money with someone who's really going to help me out, right? Who's really going to help me out and who's really going to set me straight. And so I did. So I invested $10,000. Now, that was back a long time ago. I've invested well over 6 figures with him now. Now, I make a lot more than that per year with my own personal trading. But the thing is that one thing I do say is because I went to him, he started to give me light bulb moments. Like, for example, like the truth about trading is you're not going to have trades every single day. And there might be many weeks. There might be many weeks where you have no trades, right? And that's okay, right? And that is okay. In fact, that's just normal. It's a normal part of the process. Then the next thing was, John, if you want to be part of the 1% of people who do really well out of there, then you've got to force yourself to not take anything apart from a trading plan that you're following. He said most traders out there don't make money out of trading because they don't even actually have a plan they're following. And all that simply means is a trading setup. What's the trading setup that you trade? And then you don't take anything. He said, you want to become part of the 1% who do really well out of trading? He said, one, understand there's not trades every day. Sometimes there's going to be a few weeks with no trades at all. And then he said, so then you also got to have a system that you believe in, right? You got to understand the system. When they get in, when they get out, the trading pattern that you like, that you're comfortable with. And then you just trade that out, and then you just trade that alone. And you've got to have the discipline to say no to all this other maybe stuff out there that looks good or you want to get in. And then if you can do that, you're going to be part of the people that actually do really well at trading. I'm like, oh, okay. And so then he started to really guide me down this path of doing this. And this is how I got to where I am today. It was understanding the path of every single year of my own personal trading, right? The path of every single year. But also, the reason why I do well out of trading now is I have no idea what's coming in the stock market coming up now. Right? I can use some technical analysis to see what's likely to come. Yeah, but when it comes to my success in my trading, is that the reason why I do well out of trading is because 90% of the time I'm following the plan. 10% of the time I'm going to screw up, right? I'm human, I'm going to screw up. But 90% of the time, I'm just following the same pattern. Every day, I'm just looking at the same pattern on the market. It's not nothing new. I'm not trying to make up something. I'm not trying to guess. I'm not trying to hope. I'm like, here's the trading pattern that I trade. If I follow this throughout the 12-month period, I'm going to have a good year. And if I can do that and be okay with not taking a trade for a week or a month or a few months, if I can do that, then I'm going to have a good year this year. And next year, I'm going to have a good year. And next year, I'm going to have a good year. Makes sense? And if I can just stick with that process, that's how you become part of the 1%. And so if you're going through the discovery phase right now, one, understand this here, but also secondly, I hope you can see here that on the other side of all that discovery, things start to click for you, right? That can take a long time or it can take a short time. If you want to invest some good money in some coaching with me, I can help you take what's taken me 20 years to figure it out. Again, go to getjohntop.com. You can apply to be part of my 1% club. Or when it comes to you guys, just understand that these are some simple things that I had to learn if I wanted to become a good trader. And if I wasn't going to do these things, I know that success is not going to be mine in the markets. And so this is where I had to start to do things. I had to force myself to start to apply a bit of discipline behind this approach. When I did this every day, the long-term effect was amazing.